Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the business value of evolutionary design using lean and agile road mapping, modeling, and even startup life cycles to create innovative products and services. Feel free to visit my website where you can grab all of my latest white papers, videos, and even my great new white paper on applying evolutionary architecture principles. I've been in the public sectors for the better part of 4 decades. My background is in computer science and information systems. I'm a career systems and software engineering methodologist. My first project was NASA's space station, and I've published books on the ROI of traditional and agile methods. Let's begin with a quote on evolutionary design principles by Charles Darwin. He said, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change," which is certainly a timely message for today's lecture on the business value of evolutionary design. One of the most astounding statistics on traditional design that both lean and traditional designers refuse to accept are that 65% of requirements are actually defective, and 65% of those that aren't defective are not even needed at all, leading to 1 or 200 million line of code bases that are, quite frankly, never used at all. Evolutionary design means to grow, unfold, and expand in a gradual fashion over time to iteratively and incrementally adapt based on principles of lean and agile thinking and product development flow. It's a just-in-time and emergent form of new product and service development that supports collaboration, teamwork, working software, and responding to change with an intense focus on design thinking and rapid business experiments to maximize business value by utterly delighting customers and end users. So how exactly does evolutionary design work? Well, in this paradigm, new requirements are implemented in slices versus layers. That is, high priority user needs are done first. And when you do this, systems development is faster, you get business value faster, lower cost, fewer defects, manageable risk, better performance, and even better security. Evolutionary design is a lean thinking phenomena, therefore we can use cumulative workflow diagrams to illustrate the effects. When you have big designs up front, this increases batch sizes, lead times, cycle times, waste, defects. However, when you use evolutionary design to create smaller batches, this decreases lead and cycle times, waste, wait times, and actually increases quality and customer satisfaction. Over the years, a family of basic evolutionary design techniques have emerged to help us reduce the scope, size, cost, risk, and failure of new products and services, such as minimum marketable feature, minimum viable product, story maps, vision statements, and even microservices that increase testability, quality, reliability, security, and ultimately success, which we'll explore throughout this briefing. Let's explore a critical concept to evolutionary design called minimum viable product, a term coined by Eric Ries in 2011. An MVP is the absolutely smallest possible new product or service that can be created to rapidly collect and measure the greatest possible feedback. Rather than build our systems one component at a time, we're going to evolve our new product and service designs until our customers are utterly delighted. The first major family of evolutionary design methods we'll explore are called roadmaps. Numerous models of road mapping techniques have emerged based on principles of lean thinking to capture scope, goals, features, timelines, business value that include business model canvas, lean canvas, now, next, later, goal and objective, fuzzy time, product, and even OKR roadmaps. The business model canvas emerged around 2004 based on 9 broad building blocks to help scope new products and services that included key partners, activities, resources, value propositions, customer relationships, channels, customer segments, cost structure, and revenue streams. As you can imagine, this was a lengthy, arduous, and cost-intensive process. A simplified version of the business model canvas is called the Lean Canvas, created in 2010, which captured problems, solutions, key metrics, unique value, market advantage, channels, customer segments, cost structure, and revenues on a single page. However, this was also labor intensive. The visual one-page now, next, later roadmap emerged around 2010 to capture releases and features in 3 broad time frames. what to focus on now, what to focus on next if we had time, and of course what to focus on much, much later without hard milestones and dates like an integrated master schedule. The simple one-page visual goal-oriented roadmap emerged around 2013 with quarterly dates, release names, goals, features, and even technical performance measures, but was still not a full-blown integrated master schedule to which people are accustomed. A slightly more structured variation of the now, next, later roadmap is the fuzzy time roadmap to satisfy both integrated master schedulers as well as Kanban enthusiasts, with 4 broad categories resembling business quarters for in progress, soon, future, and completed features, as well as feature categories for new features, stickiness delighters, third-party product integrations, and even infrastructure enablers. A simple hybrid of the business model canvas and visual roadmaps we've illustrated so far is the product roadmap popularized by Todd Lombardo in 2018, with broad categories for engineers, marketing, and executives, and components for timeframes, themes, features, business objectives, product volumes, markets, market sizes, and even projected revenues and profits. Due to the immense popularity of OKRs, or objectives and key results, from the 1990s by Intel and Google, Tim O'Malley created the simple visual OKR roadmap in 2019 to map product and service level themes on a timeline to enterprise, business unit, portfolio, and even product or service level objectives and key results. Just to recap some of the product roadmap concepts we've covered so far, there are feature-driven roadmaps with timeframes, objective-driven roadmaps with timeframes, time-based roadmaps with features or objectives, and even now, next, later roadmaps with features or objectives as well. There are just so many simple visual roadmap variations from which to choose. Once again, the ever popular now, next, later. The variation of that, the 7-20-10%, themes, problems, KPIs or OKRs, again, features, value versus complexity graphs, and even nice visual hybrids. The second major family of evolutionary design methods we'll explore are called user experience maps. Numerous models of UX mapping techniques have emerged based on principles of lean thinking to capture life cycles, problems, pain points, features such as service, journey, experience, story, mental, impact, and ecosystem maps to identify features and themes that often feed roadmaps. The service blueprint emerged in 1984 to illustrate key customer transactions and services with layers for physical evidence, end user actions, front of stage interactions, back of stage interactions, and even support processes. The ever-popular journey map emerged in the early 1990s to depict the major pain points that customers or end users encounter along the life cycle of a product or service, including major life events, emotions experienced at the time, actions they take, and weaknesses or gaps in products that need to be prioritized and filled now. The next major variation is the experience map, popularized in the late 1990s, which more closely focuses on the product itself, with the persona at the middle and the immediate life cycle stages of the product or service, with the experiences mapped out along those stages and the immediate gaps that need to be closed or areas for further exploration. With the popularity of extreme programming in the 1990s and Scrum in the 2000s, the story map was matured in 2005, which had major user activities and features in one dimension, as well as user stories in a time dimension with releases and perhaps even goals and personas. Another popular method maturing around 2008 was the mental map, which showed major user lifecycle stages, major themes or activities, as well as problems encountered along the way of a product or service, and the system functions necessary to solve those problems. The impact map emerged around 2012 to map goals, roles, impacts, and deliverables, that is, only build the features and user stories that satisfy specific business goals for specific users and pain points they encounter. The ecosystem map gained popularity around 2013 to help larger enterprises map out broad sweeping ecosystems or value streams of interrelated products and services that is cover broader segments of the market. Here's another nice variation of the ecosystem that shows specific market segments, subsegments, life cycle stages, themes, and features that might be covered by an entire product or service ecosystem. Here's another nice ecosystem map created by the Canadian government that has dimensions for trends or waves of change, societal norms, and various digital needs encountered, across the decades. The third major family of evolutionary design methods we'll explore are Lean and Agile design cycles. Numerous models of Lean and Agile design techniques have emerged based on principles of Lean thinking to capture roles, needs, problems, solutions, scaling up and out, such as refactoring, Scrum, feature-driven development, design thinking, Lean Startup, 5x5x teams, and design sprints. Obviously, UX maps feed roadmaps, which feed Lean and Agile design cycles, but once you've gone through a cycle or two, you update your roadmaps and your UX maps. If you treat this as a static, one-time linear waterfall life cycle, you're doing it wrong. If you treat this as a dynamic family of evolutionary methods that constantly feed one another day to day, week to week, month to month, you're doing it right, and that's the hard part. Let's begin simple with refactoring that emerged in the 1990s to evolve your architecture and design using one-piece workflow principles. First, you take your highest priority user story, write your tests, write your code, and run the test to pass, and continuously refactor your code, adding new user stories and designs to the code base one story at a time without a big design up front. A closely related technique is the ever popular Scrum design cycle created around 1993 that begins with a prioritized list of product features, a short-term plan, a 2 to 4 week sprint cycle, demo your code every couple of weeks, and do a continuous improvement cycle. You evolve your product backlog sprint to sprint. If you treat this as a linear waterfall life cycle, you're doing something wrong. If you treat this as an evolutionary design method, you're doing it right. Let's describe feature-driven development for posterity's sake, which emerged in 1997. First, you create an overall object-oriented architecture model, not unlike a UX map. You build a features list, not unlike a roadmap or product backlog. Then you create a feature plan, not unlike a sprint plan. You design your features one at a time. You code and test them one at a time. Then you update your feature plan, features list, and your overall object-oriented model. A blockbuster technique called design thinking, which was popularized by IDEO in 2008, is based on 5 broad stages of empathizing with your end user needs, narrowing down their problems, conceptualizing solutions, prototyping them, and testing end user reactions. Of course, the secret sauce is empathizing with your end user, since humans are naturally narcissistic. A very popular technique is Lean Startup, which was created by Eric Ries in 2013, based on iterating over your business model canvas, your MVP, your customer creation, and your company building to tease out those tacit customer requirements. A closely related technique is 5x5x teams, created in 2014, which is a 5-stage rapid business experimentation technique of forming simple hypotheses, designing simple experiments, conducting cheap experiments, measuring the results of those experiments, and focusing on learning more than outputs. A refinement of design thinking by Jake Knapp of Google in 2016 is the 5-day design sprint. First, you map out the user's needs, you sketch competing designs, you choose the best design, you build a prototype, you test it with your end user, and in only 1 week you have a Scrum backlog that you can use as a basis for building an MVP. By 2020, the Scaled Agile Framework, or SAFe 5.0, evolved into a model of business agility, replete with lean canvases, portfolio value streams, large solution architectures with set-based design, and design thinking with DevOps to rapidly fill business experiments and iterate over program, large solution, and even portfolio backlogs. Here's a nice study by DevOps Research and Associates on applying modern evolutionary design principles and practices, illustrating that modern businesses can achieve $66 million in benefits on $1.3 million in costs with a 5,000% return on investment and a 7-day payback period, dispelling the myth that multi-billion-dollar, multi-decade-long enterprise architectures are necessary for business success. So what are the 5 keys to evolutionary design? Well, everything begins and ends with Lean and Agile principles, specifically the road mapping, user experience mapping, and design cycles we've seen here today. Downsize your portfolios, simplify your systems, architectures, and designs, modularize your interfaces with microservices, and end-to-end automation with DevOps to achieve the ROI we saw on the previous slide. Here's another way of saying the same thing. Limit your work in process. Involve your customers early. De-scope your complexity by an order of magnitude. Implement each component in small cross-functional teams. Incrementally test each component as you develop it. And when you do this, you can reduce your cost, your risk, your waste while improving quality, lead and cycle times, customer satisfaction, and business value. Let's close with a quote by Albert Einstein related to evolutionary design principles. He said, "Any intelligent fool can make things bigger and more complex. However, it takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction." That is the direction of evolutionary design. Here are some helpful resources on evolutionary design, specifically Sprint by Jake Knapp, Mapping Experiences, the Design Thinking Playbook. Product Roadmaps is a great one. Testing Business Ideas is brand new. Obviously, see my evolutionary design videos and my most recent evolutionary design white paper, which has an extensive bibliography. Thank you for listening to this video on the application of evolutionary design principles. Feel free to visit my website, davidfrico.com, where you can get this video as well as this briefing and all of my white papers on evolutionary design principles. Thank you very much.